Good afternoon, everyone. So my name's Kirston Winters. I head product management for MarketServe, which is the derivatives processing arm of Ihs Market. I'm delighted to be with you here today in Brussels, and I'm going to start by giving a brief overview of Ihs Market, as I'm aware a number of you won't be aware of our company. After which I'll give you a summary of our role in the OTC derivatives market, particularly as it relates to EMIR, and I'll finish by highlighting the key areas of EMIR refit based on a deep knowledge and understanding of post-trade workflows in the OTC derivatives markets. So Ihs Market is a global organisation that was formed in the summer of 2016 by the merger of Ihs and Market. We are essentially a data, analytics and solutions provider to many industries worldwide, including financial markets. Our client coverage is on screen, and you can see we have an extremely broad customer base across major industries, and in financial services we count all investment banks, most large banks, hedge funds, asset managers and public sector organisations as customers. In addition to financial markets, we have big operations in energy, chemicals, automotive, aerospace and defence, as well as technology, media, product design and maritime and trade. MarketServe, the derivatives processing arm, supports all the key post-trade processing workflows such as electronic confirmation, clearing, allocation delivery and reporting, as well as trading venue connectivity across 4 OTC asset classes through our platforms DS Match and MarketWire. Our unique position as a third-party service provider, not a trading venue, not a CCP, not a trade repository, gives us a unique perspective, and our network includes all major OTC trading venues, 17 CCPs globally, over 2,500 clients representing over 35,000 legal entities. MarketServe really does connect the global marketplace. We provide crucial post-trade services in Europe, covering both MiFID, for example, STP connectivity from MTFs to CCPs that will go live in January, and EMIR, providing electronic confirmation, clearing connectivity, both for venue trades and for bilateral trades, and reporting to trade repositories on behalf of over 1,000 obligated entities. The key aspect to the MarketServe platforms is that we connect the trading venues, the clearing houses and the trade parties with the same workflow regardless of the trading venue chosen, the same workflow regarding of which clearing house is chosen, and the same workflow regardless of trade repository. This really does reduce barrier to entries for new entrants, for example in trading venues space, and offers standardization and streamlining for clients. This reduces costs, risk and improves data quality for our clients. And should there be changes to market structure in Europe, i.e. new trading venues around Brexit, firms will be able to adopt the same post-trade processing workflows regardless of whether they're on a UK venue or a European venue. To give you an idea of our transaction reporting solutions specifically, we cover ODRF reporting, which is the voluntary reporting that's been around for a long time, and then we support reporting in all the key global regions as shown on screen. Obviously EMIR being a big part of that. Moving on to the refit proposal, in terms of the refit proposal, we're broadly supportive of most of the items in there. I think the front loading and back loading requirement there's universal support for. I think the single-sided reporting for ETDs, while not directly impacting us, makes a lot of sense. We would just caution that it doesn't make sense for OTCs in this context. So just because it could work a lot better for ETDs and may well go forward, it's important to realise that ETDs are vertical silos and it wouldn't work in the same way for OTC derivatives. The placement of reporting requirements on larger counterparties rather than smaller counterparties is key. And the one thing we would caution there, though, is reusing existing categorisation, which we believe ESMA and the Commission are trying to do. the more categorizations of firms we create, the more complexity we create, the more data we need to share amongst firms. We actually have a service that helps people do that, but it's just more complexity to the market. The more complex it is, the more mistakes people make, the lower the data quality will ultimately be. And finally, the other area I'd like to highlight, and as I say, we support all these areas, the other area I'd like to highlight is the double-sided versus single-sided reporting. We were a strong advocate pre-EMIR go live for single-sided reporting. We'd seen it work in the US. We saw a lot of the benefits of single-sided reporting and made that case quite clearly. However, now we have double-sided reporting in Europe, we would not advocate switching to single-sided reporting. We have a regime that people have invested heavily in, and people have working. There's issues, there's data quality issues, there's standardization issues, but essentially that's not all caused by the double-sided reporting regime. The much simpler way to transition, to remove that obligation from smaller firms, is just to remove the obligation from those smaller firms. So if you've got bank versus bank, both report. If you've got bank versus small end user, just the bank reports. And that way you get the benefits of removing the burdens that you would get with single-sided reporting without completely re-engineering the reporting process. Are we going to achieve what we hope with the refit as stated? I think, there's some key things. I think the backloading and the front loading, it's key just to get that out there and done. The deadline's already passed for backloading. Firms have done it. It may be wrong. It's very difficult. It's hard to get the data right. If we remove that and move on, I think it just gives people a level of comfort and confidence to move forward. In terms of OTC, I just put a few questions up there which I think might be relevant for others. In terms of OTC reporting and simplifying it, I've mentioned already around removing the obligation from smaller firms like NFC minuses, but actually broader NFCs and maybe even some small FCs. Adopting global standards is key, and while the timing of that will not work with EMIR refit, it's important we move forward with refit to make the improvements we can, and remember that we need to come again and adopt those global standards. So things like LEI, which obviously is coming in November, UTI, still not harmonised. UPI, there's actually a session I would have been at today in Montreal with CPMI OSCO discussing the governance of UPI and how we can use that going forward to improve product taxonomy and reporting. But then the other 100 or so critical data elements that CPMI OSCO have been focused on and trying to create that data dictionary, that standard that all the G20 can adopt as the way to report. Because many firms are reporting in many regimes, and if we use the same standards, we report once or report many times but in the same data formats, you get better data quality, and ultimately the data can be used for other purposes too. So effectively, the message is simplify, standardize, and streamline the approach. When it comes to transparency of data reported as well, I think you just come back to the same problem, right? You need to simplify the reporting requirements. Are all the fields that are required today necessary to get the regulatory outcomes we want? If there's 85 fields and we're only really using 60 of them, people are spending their budgets trying to get 85 fields right. They're investing in technology to try and get 85 fields right. If really 60 is all we need, then let's focus on those 60, have people invest in getting those 60 fields correct, and we'll get better data quality and we'll be able to meet those regulatory outcomes. I think finally, I would say, with regards to data quality, I think one of the challenges with EMIR in particular is people, because it's the data source that's available to them today, people are having to use the EMIR data for purposes it was not intended. So, for example, the MiFID trading obligation, we have no other data as a community, we have no other data to use, so we try and use EMIR data to say what's liquid. It's very difficult because it's the wrong data set. It's allocation level, not execution level. It's post-prime brokerage, not execution level. So a lot of the data is duplicated in the data set because that's not the purpose of the EMIR data. The purpose is systemic risk. So I think once MiFIR reporting, transaction reporting is in place in January, that can be used for its purpose. The EMIR data can be used for its purpose, and we improve the data quality. We'll get much better transparency to the regulators and much better data quality all round, and actually lower costs for the industry. And I think, thinking beyond people meeting the requirement, people are spending huge amounts of money globally to meet regulatory requirements, investing in their data, investing in their technology, investing in their systems. But actually, if we use standards, we create quality, people can then use that data set for other purposes, like managing their business, controlling and mitigating risk, and really make best use of that data rather than producing it in lots of different formats for lots of different regulators all over the world. And that will lower the burden for the big guys, as well as the focus, primarily of REFIT, which is to try and lower the burden for the smaller guys. I think we'll leave those questions out there. Hopefully we'll hit some of the other panelists' views on those during the panel session. But yes, overall, I think the summary is we're supportive of REFIT, but we need to streamline and standardise that data requirement. Thank you.